Dear students, in this lecture on chemical properties of alcohols, today we will discuss a very important reaction, dehydration of alcohols. Now first let us learn what does dehydration means. Dehydration, as the name suggests, it means removal of water. Now let us see, suppose we have any alcohol CnH2n plus 1 OH. If we remove water from it, this OH and H, what will remain? CnH2n plus water, and this CnH2n is alkene. So upon dehydrating alcohols, removing water from alcohols, we get alkenes, and this reaction is a reversible reaction. So reversible reaction, under same conditions the water adds to alkenes to form alcohols. So in order to move this reaction in the forward direction, we have to keep removing water, keep removing water. We can do it by distillation, distilling water, distillation, or dehydrating agent. You can use any, or you can use combination of these two, dehydrating agent as well as distillation. So this is your dehydration reaction, which will make, by dehydration of alcohols we will get alkenes as a product, because CnH2n is a molecular formula for alkenes. Now what are the conditions by which we can carry out this dehydration? This dehydration can be carried out using any mineral acid, any mineral acid, generally sulfuric acid or phosphoric acid. These are the generally used, and sulfuric acid is generally used for dehydrating these alcohols. We can also carry out this dehydration by using anhydrous ZnCl2 or alumina Al2O3. These also can carry out the dehydration of alcohols to alkenes. Now the exact conditions for these dehydration, it depends upon the structure of alcohols. Now we already know that alcohols can be classified as primary, secondary and tertiary alcohols, and the ease of dehydration we will discuss it later. What is the reason? The ease of dehydration is tertiary alcohols, they can easily be dehydrated than secondary alcohols, than primary alcohols. The ease of, this is the order of ease of dehydration, ease of dehydration. Tertiary alcohols can be dehydrated easily than secondary alcohol, than primary alcohol. That means we need harsher conditions for primary alcohols, then lesser harsher for secondary, and lesser harsher, least harsh for tertiary alcohols for dehydration. So let us try to write some fractions of this primary, secondary and tertiary alcohol. Now suppose if we have a primary alcohol CH3 CH2OH. Now for dehydrating this type of alcohol we need 95% sulfuric acid, and temperature is required for around 433 to 443 Kelvin. So this is the general temperature range. So you get CH2 double bond CH2 plus water. This is for, these conditions are for primary alcohol. So if we have any primary alcohol, these are the conditions that required for dehydration. Now let us see if we have a secondary alcohol. The secondary alcohol goes like this: CH3 CHOH CH3. As I have said, it can easily be dehydrated compared to primary alcohol. It requires around 60% sulfuric acid, so dilute sulfuric acid, it is highly concentrated sulfuric acid, and the temperature is also less, around 413 Kelvin. So around this Kelvin, this undergoes dehydration to get you alkene CH3 CH double bond CH2. Now if we have a tertiary alcohol, it requires even lesser harsher conditions, so it can be dehydrated very quickly and very easily. So let us see. For this we just require 20% very dilute sulfuric acid, and the temperature is also around 358 to 363 Kelvin. So very less temperature compared to primary and secondary alcohols, and even sulfuric acid required is dilute, and you get CH3 CH3 double bond CH2. So this OH and one hydrogen, from here you get alkene. So we will discuss its mechanism later. So this is how I just want to convey to you is that the reaction conditions, it depends upon the structure of your alcohol. Primary alcohol requires harsher conditions, secondary require lesser harsh than this primary alcohol, and this tertiary alcohol can be dehydrated quite easily. And industrially, on large scale, the dehydration is carried out using alumina, so which requires very harsh conditions. So generally C2H5OH, with the help of alumina, it requires around 623 Kelvin, and the product is C2H4 plus water. This alkene is formed. So this is your industrial dehydration of ethanol. So it is generally carried out using alumina, so which can be used again and again. So that's why it is preferred, but we require harsher conditions. So this is your dehydration of alcohols, which can be carried out with a number of reagents, but generally sulfuric acid is preferred. So we will discuss its mechanism later. Now, but alcohols can also react with the sulfuric acid under different conditions to give you different products. I will just explain this to you with taking a one alcohol, suppose primary alcohol, let us say C2H5OH. Now let us see how it reacts with your sulfuric acid when they react around 383 Kelvin. So the product formed is water is removed, C2H5 O SO3H plus water. So this OH, this H, we can also write it like as C2H5 HSO4 negative or OSO3H, that is better. So this is ethyl hydrogen sulfate. So this is called ethyl hydrogen sulfate. So under this 383 Kelvin, sulfuric acid reacts with ethanol to get ethyl hydrogen sulfate. Now this ethyl hydrogen sulfate, it further undergoes a number of reactions under different conditions. First thing is it can be distilled under reduced pressure. So if we do C2H5O SO3H, if we distill it under reduced pressure means under vacuum, distill means heat it, then we get your diethyl sulfate, C2H5O S double bond O C2H5, this is diethyl sulfate plus H2SO4. So this is what happens if you distill it under reduced pressure. So if we have excess of alcohol, then let us see what happens. So this ethyl hydrogen sulfate, next possibility is C2H5. So this is the fate of this ethyl hydrogen sulfate under different conditions. First, under reduced distillation under reduced pressure, it formed diethyl sulfate. Its name is diethyl sulfate. And if we have excess of alcohol, C2H5O SO3H, then your HOC2H5 excess ethanol, then if we heat it around 413 Kelvin, then you get ether. This sulfuric acid is removed like this, so you get C2H5O C2H5 plus H2SO4. This is your ether. Diethyl ether is formed. Similarly, if you heat it further harsh conditions, C2H5O SO3H under 443 Kelvin, so it forms this hydrogen from this alkyl chain, and OSO3 from H from here goes, you get C2H4, your alkene, plus H2SO4. So that is how this ethyl hydrogen sulfate, which can be formed by a reaction of ethanol with sulfuric acid at 383 Kelvin, it undergoes a number of reactions under different conditions. So if we distill it out under reduced pressure, we get diethyl sulfate. If we have excess of ethanol and we react it with ethanol at 413 Kelvin, the product is diethyl ether, and at 443 Kelvin the product is alkene plus sulfuric acid. So our today's topic of interest is synthesis of these alkenes from alcohol. So we will be using harsher conditions, as I have told you that it is a reversible reaction. So to make this reaction in a forward direction, we have to keep moving water that is formed during this process, and that can easily be done using either distillation under reduced distillation or using some dehydrating agents. Now let us see what is this mechanism of dehydration. So as I have told you in my first slide that C2H5OH sulfuric acid under 443 Kelvin. So this form you C2H4 alkene plus water. Now let us try to write its mechanism, and this mechanism takes place through E1 mechanism. So it is E1 mechanism. E stands for elimination, as it is a elimination reaction. Why it is elimination reaction? Because OH and hydrogen from here has been removed, so water has been removed, so it is called elimination reaction. So this is a type of elimination mechanism, E1. So the first step of this mechanism is, so let us write the first step. So sulfuric acid, we all know that it is a strong acid, so it is ionized to H positive plus HSO4 negative. Now the first step is protonation of this alcohol, C2H5OH plus H positive. So this is the first step. So you get C2H5OH2 positive. Now once this oxygen gets a positive charge, it becomes even more electronegative. So it pulls these electrons more towards itself. So now this bond can be broken easily. Now the second step is this, is the generation of this carbocation. This is your oxonium salt. This is called oxonium salt. In the next step, this oxonium salt that is formed, C2H5OH2 positive, as I have told you that because of this enhanced electronegativity due to OH positive, this bonds gets cleaved. This bond gets cleaved, and we get C2H5 positive plus water. So this is your carbocation, which is intermediate in this reaction. So carbocation is formed plus water, and this step is a very slow step, and it is a rate determining step. As you know that slow step is a rate determining step. So this involves only this this oxonium salt, so that's why it is E1 mechanism. So it depends upon only upon the nature of alcohols. So similar to SN1, we have E1 elimination, unimolecular elimination mechanism. So this carbocation form. Now this cleavage of this bond also requires some energy. So from where this energy will come? These cations, they will be solvated in the solvent. If it is water, they will be hydrated. So this solvation or hydration, it releases some energy. That energy is utilized to cleave this carbon oxygen bond. So we get this carbocation, which is a very slow step, and this is the rate determining step. Now in the third step, we have two possibilities. One possibility is that, so I will write its structure as CH3 CH2 positive. This again I will write as CH2H. One possibility is your elimination reaction. This goes here, this water, it gets eliminated by water or something like that. HSO4 negative can also eliminate this water. This H positive gets eliminated. You get CH2 double bond CH2 plus H3O positive. So if this goes here, then H3O positive, so plus H positive. So this is your alkene, and this is your elimination step. This is your elimination mechanism. The another possibility can be this CH3 CH2 positive plus that HSO4 negative. This nucleophile can attack this carbocation to give you CH3, CH2, OSO3H. HSO3 negative can also be written as OSO3H negative, but this reaction does not take place. This attack of nucleophile on this carbocation is very unlikely. The reason being that HSO4 negative is a very weak nucleophile, very weak nucleophile, so it does not attack that electrophile. So this nucleophilic attack does not take place, so this elimination is dominating. So generally this elimination takes place and you get these alkenes. So this mode of mechanism is called E1 mechanism. So unimolecular elimination mechanism, it is quite simple. First step is protonation, second step is generation of carbocations, and third step is elimination. This could have also been attacked by that nucleophile, but the nucleophile that counter ion in this is HSO4 negative, and it is a very weak nucleophile, so its attack to this carbocation is very unlikely, so this does not form here. So the product is your alkene. So this is the dominating product, CH2 double bond CH2 plus H3O positive. Elimination reaction takes place. It is the dominating reaction in this dominating step in this reaction. So the product is alkene. So it basically takes place in these three steps. First is protonation, second is generation of carbocation, which is slow step and rate determining step, and third one is elimination from the carbocation to give you alkenes. Now as these are carbocations, so there are always a possibility of rearrangements that we will discuss later. So let us try to draw its energy profile diagram. So how it will look, let us see. Here suppose we have your energy, here is your energy, here is your reaction coordinates. So you can say progress of reaction, time, progress of reaction. Now let us see, we will start from ethanol. So first is your ethanol. I will write something. Suppose it has some this energy. Suppose it is CH3 CH2OH. So what I can do, I can write down so that here. So it is your CH3 CH2OH. It has this much energy. Now this first step is protonation to form this oxonium salt. So I will show it here. This is your first step. Here goes your this oxonium salt. Here you get CH3 CH2OH2 positive. Now you can see this is slightly lower in energy, so it is slight exothermic step. So first step is slight exothermic. Why? Because the energy of this oxonium salt is less than energy of this alcohol, so it is an exothermic step. Now let us see next step what happens. This is a slow step. This oxonium ion, it gives you a intermediate carbocation, and it is a very slow step. So if it is a slow step, so it will require a large amount of energy. So it will be like this. So here you get these your here you get your intermediate. Suppose here you have formed your intermediate. So your intermediate is your carbocation CH3 CH2 positive plus water. So this carbocation is here. So here this is the energy corresponding to your carbocation, and you can see this step is endothermic. So second step is highly endothermic, because energy of this carb intermediate is quite high than energy of your this oxonium salt. So in the next step this undergoes elimination to give you products. So this give you your products. Suppose these are your products, so I will write here. Yes, so these are your products. Here this undergoes elimination, and your products are CH2 double bond CH2 plus H positive. So here is your product. So it is, you can see, highly exothermic step. This step is highly exothermic. So this reaction mechanism can be shown. Energy profile diagram can be presented like this. So you can see here, so this is your first transition state 1. This is your second transition state. This is your third transition state. Now slowest step will have highest activation energy. So this has highest energy, so that's why it is the slowest step. So first step slightly exothermic, then highly endothermic, then highly exothermic step to finally give you alkene. So this is how the energy profile diagram for E1 mechanism looks like of dehydration of alcohols. So that is how it looks like. So it is quite easy to draw, so it is not difficult. You just have to remember these steps, then you have to step by step show these steps on the energy profile diagram. So this is your energy profile diagram for this reaction. So that is the mechanism. Now let us see the mechanism that we have proposed here. This we should also be able to validate it, that we should be able to tell that our proposed mechanism is correct. Then we always used to give some evidences in this favor. So the first evidence in this mechanism is that ease of dehydration. First evidence is ease of dehydration. As we know that the order of ease of dehydration is a tertiary alcohols, they can easily be dehydrated than secondary alcohols, which can easily be dehydrated than primary alcohols. This is order of ease of dehydration. So the tertiary alcohols can be dehydrated easily, then your secondary, then your primary. This we have already done when we discuss the reaction conditions required for their dehydration. So you can see we require harsher conditions for primary alcohol, then there are very milder conditions that are required for your tertiary alcohols. So now if our mechanism is correct, it should be able to explain this order of dehydration, ease of dehydration. So that is how it can be, it can actually explain it. Now this reaction involves the generation of this carbocation. So the reaction takes place through a carbocation intermediate, and it is the rate determining step, intermediate, and this is your rate determining step. Generation of your carbocation is a rate determining step. So the more easily this carbocation is generated, more easily carbocation is generated, because it is a rate determining step, carbocation is generated, more easy will be dehydration, more easy will be your dehydration. Now this generation of carbocation depends upon stability of carbocation. So stability of carbocations, it follows the order we have done many times. Tertiary carbocations, they are more stable than secondary carbocations, and secondary carbocations, they are more stable than primary carbocations. Now our mechanism says that this generation of carbocation is your rate determining step. If this carbocation is generated easily, then reaction rate will be fast. Now we know that this carbocation generation is easy if it is tertiary, if it is easy if it is secondary, then it is more easy if it is primary. So that is the order of stability of carbocation. So this order, it resembles the order of your dehydration that we have done in our first slide, that it is very easy to dehydrate tertiary alcohol, then secondary alcohol, then primary alcohol. So we can explain this order of ease of dehydration according to stability of carbocation. and our mechanism, in our mechanism the rate determining step is generation of the carbocation. So we can say this order matches with our mechanism. So our mechanism also says that generation of carbocation is the rate determining step, and that reaction should be fast, which leads to generation of tertiary carbocation. So tertiary alcohols, we know that they lead to generation of tertiary carbocation. So let me write one example. So this is your tertiary alcohol. It will generate CH3, CH3, CH3 positive, a tertiary carbocation. So if it is generated easily, this step will be fast, so the dehydration will be easy. So our mechanism correlates with the experimental observation of order of ease of dehydration, so which is explained on the basis of stability of carbocation. So we can say that the mechanism that we have proposed, it is in favor with the experimental observation, so it is correct. The second evidence is the formation of unexpected product like rearrangement of carbocation. So let me try to explain. This is the second evidence that our mechanism is correct. So as I have told you, whenever a carbocation is formed, there is a possibility of rearrangement. Now let us suppose we have to dehydrate butanol, CH3, CH2, CH2, CH2OH. Now if we do its dehydration with the sulfuric acid, now what we assume that this product should be this OH goes from here, H goes from here. So CH3, CH3, CH2, CH double bond CH2. This is our expected product. So according to the product, this product should be formed, but in actual practice the product that is the major product in this reaction is a CH3, CH double bond CH, your CH3, that is your major product. Now how to explain that this product is formed? As our this we can explain on the basis of our proposed mechanism. So our mechanism says that first step is protonation. So this protonation leads to CH3, CH2, 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 OH2 positive. Now this undergoes dehydration to give you this carbocation CH3, CH2, CH2, CH2 positive. Now it is a primary carbocation. Now let us see if we can do something with it. Suppose we write it like C, H and H. Let us write this CH2 as CH and H. So then we will see how we can. Suppose if we shift this hydride from here to here, then what we will get? We will get here CH3, CH2, CH positive, CH3. Now this is a secondary carbocation. Now according to our mechanism, what it has to undergo? This will undergo this minus H positive to give you CH3, CH double bond CH, CH3. So that is how this unexpected product is explained. Why this is the major product? Because of this rearrangement. So this rearrangement is very common in carbocation intermediate reaction. So as our proposed mechanism that we have proposed, it involves the rate determining step as generation of carbocations, and we also got this unexpected product. So this correlates with that the carbocations are formed in this reaction. So our proposed mechanism is quite correct. So with this mechanism we can also predict what will be the major product and what will be the minor product, and we can validate this according to our experimental observation. So as you have seen in this reaction, this our expected product was this. We are expecting that this your CH2. So this H, we were expecting that this will happen as this minus water, so we will get this product, but in actual practice the major product is this. So this can be explained on the basis of rearrangement of carbocation, and our mechanism also involves the generation of carbocation as the rate determining step. So we can say that our proposed mechanism is quite correct. It can explain various experimental observations like formation of unexpected products, and second evidence was ease of dehydration. So our proposed mechanism says that tertiary carbocation should be easily dehydrated, so which is true. Actually, when we experimentally do, it is quite easy to dehydrate your tertiary alcohol than secondary alcohol than primary alcohol. So we can do a similar example of this where unexpected product has been formed. So let us see one more example. CH3 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 CHOH CH3. So 3,3 dimethyl butane 2-ol. Now if we do its dehydration, H2SO4, first I will write the expected product. What should be the product if we do, if there is no rearrangement? So according to this, OH should go from here, one hydrogen should go from here. So CH3 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 CH double bond CH2. This is our expected product, but it is not formed. This is your expected product, but in actual practice, the product which is major product is this CH3 CH3 double bond CH3 CH3. This is your major product. So let us see how we can explain this. So first step is same, the protonation. So it will generate this carbocation CH3 is CH3 CH3 CHOH2 positive CH3, then it loses water, minus water, you get CH3 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 CH positive CH3. Now this is a secondary carbocation. If we do this methyl shift, so what will happen, the product that will be formed is CH3 CH3 positive CH3 CH3. So that is your tertiary carbocation which is more stable. So this rearrangement will take place. Now the proton from here will go minus H positive, and you will get CH3 CH3 double bond CH3 CH3. So that is how you can explain the formation of unexpected products during this dehydration of alcohols. This value, this is correlates with our proposed mechanism which involves the generation of carbocations. Now we have given two evidences that why carbocations are formed in this reaction. First is your ease of dehydration which depends upon the stability of carbocation. Second is your rearrangement product. So this also can be explained on the basis of stability of carbocation. So we can say our proposed mechanism is correct. Now in the last, let us see about orientation of dehydration. So what does it mean? What is the meaning of orientation? We will discuss here. Now let us see, we have to dehydrate this product CH3 CH2 CHOH CH3. Now suppose we have to dehydrate it. First step is protonation. So what happens after protonation? We get CH3 CH2 CHOH2 positive CH3. Now this bond breaks and you get this carbocation CH3 CH2. I will write something like this, CH positive. Now CH3 I will write this. Now there are two possibilities. Next step is loss of proton. As we all know, in the next step this proton will be lost. Now it can be done in two ways. There are two possibilities. First possibility is that this proton goes. This is your first possibility. If this proton goes, what you will get? You will get I will write here CH3 CH double bond CH CH3. Second possibility is this, that this proton goes. This is your second possibility. This was your first possibility, and with the first possibility the product is this. Now let us see what is the product with the second possibility. If we have second possibility, the product is CH3 CH2 CH double bond CH2. So we can get these two products, so both are possible. So now if this phenomena is called orientation. If there is a possibility of making product from two sides, if there are two active sides which can lead to the product, so we will call this phenomena as orientation. Now we have to decide whether first will be the major product or second will be the major product. So this can easily be explained on the basis of your Sage-Zepf rule. Sage-Zepf's rule, Sage-Zepf rule, which states that more substituted alkene is more stable. So that proton will be lost, which will give us a more substituted alkene. Now this alkene is more substituted, so that's why this is more stable. Or we can say more substituted means more alkylated, which have more alkyl groups, more alkylated, or having lesser hydrogens. That alkene will be a stable alkene. Now this alkene has 2 plus 1 3 hydrogens. This alkene has 1 plus 1 2 hydrogens. Now this alkene contains lesser number of hydrogens, so it is more stable. So alkene containing lesser number of hydrogen is more stable, and stability of alkanes can be explained on the basis of phenomena hyperconjugation. So the basis for this Sage-Zepf rule is hyperconjugation. So this alkane is more stable, so this product will be formed. So there is equal probability of removing this proton, but removal of this proton gives more stable alkene. So the stability of alkene decides the orientation of this dehydration, that which alcohol will be formed. So though that proton will be lost, which will give you a stable alkene. So which alkene is stable? More substituted alkene, or we can say alkene having more alkyl groups or having lesser number of hydrogens is more stable. So this alkene had lesser number of hydrogens, so it was more stable than this alkene. So that's why this first pathway is correct. So this is our major product. So the major product in this reaction is this. This is explained on the basis of Sage-Zepf rule. So please keep in mind, this is called orientation of dehydration. So now if I have to tell you that if you are given any alcohol, if you are given any alcohol and you have to do dehydration and alkene has to be formed, then you have to look first stability of carbocation. So first thing that you have to check is stability of carbocation, as rate determining step is formation of carbocation. So first try to make a stable carbocation. If there is a possibility of rearrangement, then do. First thing is to find a stable carbocation. Second thing is orientation according to Sage-Zepf rule. Orientation according to Sage-Zepf rule, which states that more alkylated alkane is more stable. So whenever you have to predict a product from dehydration of alcohol, first try to look for the stable carbocation, which carbocation is more stable. So this can be done like tertiary carbocation, they are more stable than secondary are more stable than primary. So if there is a possibility of your any hydride or methyl shift, then do it and get the stable carbocation. Then try to see if there are equal possibility of removing two hydrogens, then you have to form product according to Sage-Zepf rules. You have to keep these two things in mind while determining the product from alcohol. Now let us do one more example where all these two things will be covered. I will erase this, so I will write example. Suppose we have already done this CH3 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 CHOHCH3. Now suppose we have to dehydrate it. First step as usual, it is protonation. So you get CH3 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 CHOH2 positive CH3 Now this removes a proton, you get CH3, 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 CH positive, your CH3. Now first, as I have said, the first thing that you have to check was the, you have to form a stable carbocation. Now this is a secondary carbocation. If we do this methyl shift, then we will get a carbocation which is a tertiary carbocation and is more stable. So this rearrangement will take place. CH3, CH3, H C positive. Now this CH3 can be written as your CH2H. Now there are two possibilities. Again we can remove your proton, like we can remove this proton or we can remove this proton. If we remove this proton, this first, if we remove this first proton, we will get CH3 C, CH3 double bond C, CH3 CH3. If we remove this second proton, what we will get, or we can get your CH2 double bond C, CH3 CH, CH3 CH3. Now as this alkane contain lesser number of hydrogen and is more substituted, so this is more stable. This alkene is more stable, so according to Sirtzeff rule, this should be our major product. So this is your major product, this is your minor product, because this is alkene is less stable because it contains more number of hydrogen, so it has lesser hyperconjugation structures, it has more hyperconjugation structures. So that is how you have to predict the product. Now here we have done also this rearrangement to get a stable carbocation. Then we determined according to Sirtzeff rule which alkane will be formed. That alkane will be found which is more alkylated or which is more substituted. So that is how you have to, whenever you are given a problem to determine the dehydration product, you have to keep these two things in mind. First priority is make stable carbocation, that is your first step. So you have to see nothing, you have to make a stable carbocation. Second step is apply Sirtzeff rule. If there is a possibility of removing two protons, like in this case, then we will go for that case which form a more substituted alkene. So we have to follow the Sirtzeff rule. So that was all for today for dehydration of alcohol. So it is quite important because we apply so many facts: stability of carbocations, Sirtzeff rule. So in this topic we have learned two new things: the orientation of dehydration and your stability of carbocation, and we also did the energy profile diagram, how to draw the energy profile diagrams of different reactions. So that is all for today. Please don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you once again.